Be until tomorrow, but the Forest Preserves of Winnebago County and the Burpee Museum celebrate a day early with a Sunday trash bash. Volunteers of all ages were encouraged to come out today to pick up trash and clean any litter throughout the Blackhawk Springs Forest Preserve. While there, visitors were able to learn about the new Backpacking with Burpee program and get a sneak peek at the Burpee Field backpacks, which people can sign up to use and take part in the first Saturday of every month starting in May.
It's just for anybody who wants to kind of explore in more of a controlled setting, I guess. And with our Burpee backpacks, there's everything from microscopes and compasses and anything that can help kind of excel that learning.